necessarily going to get you those huge scores.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, we saw it last game, Exertus. There was so much pressure in the top lane, and it wasn't like the top laner had a massive score at the end of the game, but the fact that he was so dominant just meant that they were able to ignore the top lane essentially.
Yeah, and we're actually going to see Gangplank, so it looks like a very anti-Alphari ban list here. It will be rounded out with the Fiora ban if that were to be the case, unless only Angel is planning on first picking it. Actually, I don't think I've seen Captain Alphari lose a game on Fiora across about 3 months of play, so obviously in Challenger scene, I think obviously he may have struggled going up against slightly stiffer competition, but Alice to the final ban here. So Fiora's still up on the table. If this isn't taken early by FM, I imagine that the Banditos will like to get that out for Alphari.
Yeah, I think if this isn't a first pick, then immediately Alphari will just pick that one up. I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest. The question is, though, because Malphite's already banned out, if only Angel picks up the Fiora, what do you think Alphari then goes for? What will he bring into that matchup?
A couple of things. You could potentially even just play the Trundle. That is the Fiora first pick.
Yep.
You could play Trundle. I've even seen some people bring out Irelia. Sometimes it works pretty well. Impaler is going to get his Nidalee here. And actually they're going to get Yuki's, oh my god, Yuki's Kalista, which was so ridiculous over the weekend. Yeah. But yeah, going back to that top lane, you can play a variety of things. Again, Malphite, Poppy, Quinn, Gangplank, Fiora, or they're all now taken. So you're not at that maybe top level of top lane picks, but definitely Trundle could be played here. Maybe Nautilus. I know it won't do particularly well against Fiora, but it's still a very strong top lane pick.
Yeah.
Still has a very...
I mean, well, it's the similar thing to Malphite, isn't it? It's not like you're going to necessarily beat the Fiora in lane. You're just kind of going to be able to survive the lane.
I've also seen Maokai make a resurgence in that top lane. Awful against Fiora. Awful against Fiora, but again, they may employ a lane swap here. You could put... Captain Alphari onto Maokai or Nautilus and just employ the lane swap, because it A, shuts down the Fiora, and B, you put a more favourable top laner into a 2 versus 1, which is the Muffin. But obviously we very rarely see 2 versus 1s actually happen. Just because you generally tend to see the top laner rotate around the jungle. So, you know, when we talk about 2 versus 1 matchups, they actually very rarely come to pass these days, just because of the way the sort of lane swap
There's plenty of strategies to play into that to avoid that exact scenario, because it can be so detrimental. I mean, we all saw that game like a year ago where I think it was Dyrus playing Jax, got 2v1 and ended up at like 20 minutes with 13 CS or something just ridiculous. But obviously that will likely not come to pass. We're going to see the Lissandra lock-in here now. We've kind of pretty much seen Caedrel almost one-trick Ahri at this stage. He loves to play that Ahri, loves to go in that kind of split-push role, and that's something we saw in the Challenger scene from them as well when they were going up against Millennium. We are going to see the Nautilus as well logged in, though, so that's kind of maybe going to go up to that top lane. You might have been exactly correct in terms of that one.
Maybe, but also it could be supportless, especially with Kalista. It does work well, you know, with the Alistar having gone. Braum hasn't yet been taken, which strikes me as kind of odd. I imagine that Braum could be something that will be picked up maybe on the last rotation here.
I'd be very surprised if he's not on either team.
Yeah, well, we know he's not going to be on the side of FM because it's going to be Sailhunden on that Thresh. Could be Nautilus top, yeah, for sure, and then Caedrel moving with that mid lane Lissandra. With the fact that he's got teleport, that would strike me as, obviously, summoners are subject to change, but it would strike me as, based on what we see right now, Lissandra more likely to be going for Caedrel in the mid lane. You you don't usually take teleport on mid laners unless you A, have a weak laning phase, or B, you're an impact mid lane player.
And another thing as well is that Lissandra definitely fits that style of play that Caedrel likes to go for. You can 100 to 0 people, which Caedrel loves, and you can split push, which Caedrel loves. Over on the other side, we are going to see our final lock-ins here. We're going to get a Gragas and a Lucian, so it's going to be the Corki going to the mid lane, and Kino going to be taking that Gragas to the jungle. And now we're just waiting for the final lock-in to see our completed team compositions. So looking at the FM lineup right now, how do you expect them to try and play out this game?
Well, again, whenever you pick a Fiora, you always split push in general, which I guess is kind of interesting, because when you look at the lineup they're running, it's very similar to what we saw from Choke earlier, in the sense that you've got two fairly heavy mid-game AD carries in the form of Corki and Lucian. They'll be wanting to fight around the mid lane, and this could be Ahri, and then actually would be a support Nautilus. But yeah, so they'll be wanting to fight around sort of mid-game objective-focused play, dragons, push down towers quickly with a double AD.
Yeah.
But in general, you'll be wanting to leave Fiora to split. Maybe you'll bring Fiora maybe you'll bring Fiora into the teamfight scenario, which I just don't think works very well against the lineup you're seeing from Renegade Banditos. You'd probably leave her split, maybe look for someone to deal with the Fiora split, and then force 4 versus 4 fights, and just wait for the teleports to have their impact. So, with the FM lineup, again, it's very mid-game orientated, apart from the Fiora, which will scale heavily into the late game. You want to fight around dragons, fight around objectives. You have those, again, the demonstrated mid-game spikes that we saw from the Choke Gaming lineup. You just don't have that solid engage to make those mid-game fights happen. That's the only issue. You're relying on a Thresh Hook or a really good engage by Kino combo on that Gragas.
Yeah. So one thing I'm very curious about, you mentioned the Thresh Hook, is the Thresh was second picked right now for FM. So obviously, Sailhunden is incredibly confident. And I've yet to see Sailhunden play. This is, for me, his debut, and for, I would assume, the majority of our viewers. Now, this is the debut for the entire FM team. They're obviously putting a whole lot of stock in his Thresh play. And, I mean, we all know Bunny Fufu. We've all seen all of these players that kind of just love Thresh beyond all reason.
Beyond all reason.
And can just do ridiculous things. I want to see that at Sailhunden.
Yeah.
They put so much stock into early picking the support and not going for Braum. And in fact, we're not even going to see Braum in this game, which comes to as a bit of a surprise to me. But I really want to see Sailhunden step up now that he's locked into that kind of path.
Interestingly, it's a very, I guess, ballsy pick to pick into a Kalista as well, who is such a highly mobile AD carry, consistently able to juke left and right just thanks to her passive Martial Poise.
Yep.
You're going to have to be really confident with your ability to walk up, flay, then look for the hook once she's slowed, for instance. It's a little bit more difficult to play against a Kalista when you're playing Thresh. You sort of lack, I guess, in your ability to target hooks more effectively. And with the fact you're going up against Nautilus, I mean, it seems like a very risky lane to play into. But I guess we'll see. It was a very early pick, like you said, the rotation. I guess looking over the Banditos lineup, Alphari should do well against Fiora. It is something that you can't really riposte the ultimate. It has a very minor animation, but it's so difficult to do that with reactions. You have to either predict the ultimate just based on the fact that if she's going to glacial path in, the likelihood is she's going to ultimate in the next second or so. You try and riposte. I think Alphari's smart enough to play around that. But
well, I think as well the fact that Alphari has played so much Fiora, he's going to know the matchup in and out.
Yeah.
He's going to be able to just play around whatever Only Angel tries to do. But, I mean, we'll have to see. I've not really seen this matchup all too many times. Obviously, you do kind of have a mage versus a melee, which, straight up on paper, mage versus melee, you would usually give to the mage just in terms of they have range, they have harass kind of thing. So we'll see how that one's going to pan out.
Yeah, and again, I think early on, Fiora will struggle. Interestingly enough, I imagine you're probably even going to end up seeing 3 Hex Drinkers this game on Corki, Lucian, and Fiora.
Yeah.
You'd be silly not to get a Hex Drinker, especially maybe on the Corki and Fiora specifically. So you'll probably see an early Locket coming out from either Sailhunden or Kino combo on that Gragas.
Could even be a Banner of Command as well coming out from
Banner of Command from Sailhunden and Locket from Gragas. Obviously, the auras won't stack, but the difference in ability of items. But again, you've got to look at the composition from RNG. It's very similar to the compositions we've seen from them previously. Either Kaeldra or Alphari will get ahead through just individual mechanical skill, and then they'll facilitate a split push roll where people want to try and deal with them. As we say that, we are about to load into the Rift. We're going to a quick loading screen. But, then you've got Captain Alphari on that Lissandra, who also can facilitate that role. So both of them have teleport. They're both likely able to just push themselves ahead through mechanical skill. And it's a very similar composition that we saw RNG run through the qualifications. Lock up a singular target, you take them out, and then you just win team fights. So the fact you're able to burst one target after the other one, after the other. And
as well, the thing that we've seen out of RNB, is the continuous kind of either 1-3-1 or just as you say, find someone, pick them off, and just force objectives from there. But it's strong laners. That's the massive thing. And this is something that RNB always go for. We have yet to see them run really any style of late game composition because they just want to win the lane and then win the game off the back.
They have one of the best, displays of pick objective, win game, basically.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of composition that they've run continuously. They love pick compositions. They love compositions that can facilitate in a kind of split push roll, then into pick push, pick roll. It's something that over and over again, the compositions have been based around Impaler either counter jungling or getting ahead, Ari making a pick, Lissandra flanking and making a pick, and then they just snowball the team fights like that. Interestingly enough, if we're going to see team fights, it'll be Alphari flanking the follow-up with the Kalista ultimate. That's generally what you'll tend to see here. But we're very shortly going to be loading onto the Rift here between RNG and FM Esports here, the final game of the night, Munchables.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And it honestly feels like we just watched FM Esports. I've tried so many times not to say that just purely because you're seeing Tundra and you're seeing Toaster in the bottom lane. But FM has a new face, one of the oldest organizations within the UK scene. And we'll see whether this new roster that is debuting in this game are going to be able to live up to the hype. And speaking of hype, they're up against the Renegades. Let's head on to the map for our third and final game of the night here in the first week of the spring 2016 season. We're going to see FM Esports on our blue side and the Renegades Banditos over on our red side.
Yeah, and Impaler and Alphari just moving aggressively up to this top line. We're definitely going to see a top lane start from Impaler. The traps are coming down already. May not see a lane swap here. Very defensive moves from the lineup of RNG. And we're going to see, again, similar kind of spread from FM. Not daring to venture too far out with their wards, and you already see the more aggressive line of vision coming out from Renegade Banditos.
Yeah, absolutely. And those wards as well are going to allow Renegades to kind of back off and do whatever they feel is necessary in this matchup. They don't have to stay at those jungle entrances like you usually would to deny any kind of invade action, anything crazy like that. But we'll see how this one is going to pan out here.
Again, both teams will be trying to block those minions as they walk towards that bot lane, trying to garner advantage for either side. It will be only Thresh doing it. Sail Hunden will be trying to solo block the minions as Lucian finally comes to join. Maybe a little bit too late here, but they will start Krugs and they will start Gromps. So very similar kind of starts we've seen from every single game here. And we haven't yet seen a lane swap take place in our first week of the ESL Season 1 Premiership. Or Season 3 Premiership.
Actually,
Season 3 Premiership.
We're no longer numbering them like that. We are going for the Spring 2016 Premiership, this one. That makes it easier for 2 years down the line, so we're not on the Season 19 of the Premiership or whatever. But let's take a look at our matchups here. We are going to see standard lanes, as you said before. I'm very intrigued by this top lane. The Alphari up against Only Angel here. Lissandra against Fiora. It feels so strange, so alien to see Alphari the one not on Fiora in this matchup.
It does. It strikes me as really odd seeing Alphari play something against a Fiora, because usually it's either banned or picked, and usually the pick will go over to Alphari. But it was first picked here by FM Esports, probably more so to try and keep Alphari from it rather than them having a specific composition aimed around it. But I guess this was their plan going into Champion Select, that if they have blue side, they will probably either try to pick or ban that Fiora just to keep Alphari away from it.
Yeah.
But I reckon Alphari has been waiting for this day where that becomes a tactic.
He's probably
employed.
bored of Fiora. He probably hates playing Fiora at this stage.
Well, he picked the Lissandra very confidently into the Fiora, so I imagine that this is something that he has been planning and practicing for.
Yeah, very nice trade in the mid lane from Sean there onto Kadrol, who is pretty much completely out of mana. Now, we've seen Kadrol play a whole lot of this Ari. It's something he's very confident on as well. But Sean is playing that Corki, and we've already talked about last game how Corki pre-6 pretty much wins just about every matchup. Nice kill on the ward there from the bottom lane of RNG.
Very quick on the trigger.
RNB, sorry. I keep on saying RNG.
Well, they are under the Renegades organization, so I guess you're technically not wrong there, but it is the Banditos who will be looking to...
Only Angel going for the all-in onto Alphari in this top lane. He's looking to get the kill, and he might just have found it. Flash comes out, and that is going to be first blood. Alphari, the king of the top lane, has just been dethroned.
Solo killed Alphari. That is a huge prospect, something I have never seen happen to Alphari. He's always either been pressured in the jungle, but never have seen him solo killed. And what we expected to be potentially a matchup that he would have some kind of knowledge in, Only Angel has played him at his own game and come away with the first kill.
We built this up so much as well, the fact that he's against the champion that he plays so much, that he'll know the ins and outs, but really kind of getting caught with his pants down there. So Only Angel coming into this Premiership. This is the first game I've seen him play, and he has come in with a bang, solo killing Alphari, who honestly, definitely the strongest player of the entire last season of the Premiership. Looked incredibly strong in the Challenger Series as well. High Challenger player in general, and he's just been solo killed.
Just been so. I'm still reeling from it, actually, because again, for someone who's only cast Alphari for a short time and seen him at his absolute best, never seen him solo killed. But congrats, Only Angel has managed to pick up an early advantage here. He's picked the pickaxe up as well, so not even going to bother with the early Hex Drinker, but Impaler...
Yeah, he's in trouble. 3 versus 2 right now. K-Droll has come to help, but Impaler tanking a huge amount of damage. Sean going to just cleanse away that charm, but the charm should be enough to protect that Nidalee.
And Kino Combo has been good at trying to match the aggressive Impaler moves here. Impaler known on this Nidalee for being either heavy ganking or heavy counter jungling, trying to make the best of that champion. And actually, this is the first time that I have seen Impaler caught out when he's tried to move into the enemy jungle. And Kino Combo, he's not had enough. He's looking for a deep warding session in the enemy red side jungle, something that is putting kind of Impaler on the back foot here.
Woe is me, we are going to be seeing Scuba Gragas on the Rift again. Kino Combo has been caught out, though. A beautiful spear comes out from Impaler. Max range right there. Kino will be able to get away with this one by the looks of things. Another spear lands. Only Angel just narrowly missing the parry. And actually, Impaler, he's looking for more. He isn't finished just yet. And actually, they might just be looking towards a dive right now. They're not level 6 just yet, so the Frozen Tomb won't be available. The ward is going to deter Impaler in the end, though.
No, but he will take something from this expedition and go for the counter jungle.
Oh, there we go. 6 was hit by Alphari, and that is going to be the green light for go. But with a beautiful parry, Only Angel is looking to turn this one around. One more Q will pick up the kill on Impaler, but he doesn't have his flash available. Alphari completely out of mana, can't do anything, and Only Angel is making a statement.
Yeah, so he got locked up with the ultimate, and actually, slight mistiming. Impaler was not in the picture when Alphari went for that ultimate onto the tower, and had Impaler been a little bit closer and managed to land a spear, he wouldn't have had the time for the riposte, but the ultimate faded, the riposte came out, and he blocked that takedown from Impaler, forcing him to back off because he would have died had he not been able to flash there. So again, super impressive play by Only Angel. Even if he's down about 20 CS, he's definitely mechanically looking very good.
Yeah, and that 20 CS, if you take the kill into consideration, is going to mean he is still ever so slightly ahead in terms of straight up gold. But I'm really impressed by this new FM lineup. As I say that, Sail Hunden is going to get caught up. The rend is there, but Yuki is not going to be in range to proc it. The Ignite won't be enough, and that is going to be a nice escape. Both summoners burnt from that support, though.
I think Yuki was in 2 minds whether he'd wait for the exhaust to follow out and then flash rend to try and pick up the kill, but didn't want to risk it. It already burnt 2 summoners from Sail Hunden. That is a good start for Yuki and Hiva in that bot lane, and they are now going to slowly back off after pushing it to turret. So again, the top lane may be having a tough time, but it always count on the bot lane of RNG. They've had a really good showing over our qualification series, and now they're looking pretty strong going into this first game also.
I've got to say one thing here that is kind of you wouldn't really think of straight away. Sean actually narrowly escaping a gank there, does get the Valkyrie away to safety, but Renegades Banditos right now, they have a whole lot to live up to here. There's a lot of pressure on their shoulders because they've come in with so much hype behind them. They've come in kind of as this team that's touted as favourites for the entire tournament. They're kind of now on the back foot in this game, or at least Alphari being solo killed definitely isn't going to fill you with confidence. It's going to be how they kind of react to that, if they're able to just get back on the horse and keep on playing, and whether they stay in the driver's seat. So far, Impaler just dominating this bottom half of the blue jungle.
And he's gone aggressive again, looking to counter jungle here onto this red buff. I think he's going to get maybe caught out by Kino Combo, who is wandering into his red side jungle.
Yeah, he should be able to take that one away. Obviously, Gragas does have the barrel smite combo, so it's going to be very hard for Impaler to try and even contest that one once Kino arrives. And that is going to be Kino really standing up to Impaler, which is kind of the first time we've seen a jungler confidently just block Impaler like this and just walk into whichever part of the jungle he is and say, no, this is my jungle, actually. You need to go back over to the red side of the map.
And that is the end. And Impaler's sticking around here. He is going to get locked up in a ward, potentially.
Oh, Sean has found him, though. And look at the damage coming out from the Thunderlords. 400 left on Impaler. Gets blocked up, and that is going to be Kino bonking him on the head with the barrel and taking the kill. And now they group as 4, and they head towards this dragon, potentially.
FM coming out swinging here. Impaler staying around far too long. Definitely not expecting the collapse by the FM lineup. And actually, Kadril having to teleport back to try and do something about it. But Kino, he has got good vision control. He knew exactly where Impaler was, and Impaler thought he could still stick around. He thought he could be, I guess, a little bit cheeky in the enemy side jungle. He thought he could get away with being aggressive, but Kino has other ideas. And like you said, it's the first jungler we've seen stand up to this aggressive counter-jungling behavior by Impaler.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is going to be... I mean, this is the question right now. What is the mental state of Banditos? Like, it's looking pretty strong in the bottom lane as Hiva again lands a dredge line as Sir Scott has just burst down to half of his HP. Does have a couple of pots to run with, so should be able to top himself back up. And as well, Sailhunden running with that relic shield, so he'll be able to heal himself. But take a look at that CS difference in the bottom lane. Sailhunden, though, is in trouble. He's going to get knocked up, and the Rend is stacking. Oh, the exhaust is going to keep him alive. Ignite is not quite going to be enough, and he walks away from this one. Only Angel is teleported in, but the Fate's Call will pull Hiva to safety. Sailhunden is counting his lucky, or thanking his lucky stars right now as he narrowly escapes that one.
And they stop the back from Fiora, giving Alphari some sweet time in that top lane to push down the turret there. Again, Yuki and Hiva played that pretty well, but another timely exhaust by Sailhunden keeps him alive by, must have been sub 20 HP, and not one to be deterred by a first failure. Impaler aggressive in the enemy jungle.
Yeah, he's going to get chunked down to half his HP. Sean has to flash away, though, as Kadril is going to be locked up by Kino. But look at the health bars. This is a risky fight, and that is going to be Kino going down. Sean now going to be aggressed upon, but I don't know if Impaler actually has this one. He has to flash away. Sean is going to be looking to chase it, but he doesn't have his flash, doesn't have his Valkyrie, and can't finish off that kill. But look at the AD carry. Sir Scott has found Impaler, and he grabs himself a red buff.
They want to switch lanes here. They want to start to pressure this top lane since that top lane turret has gone. They don't want to be left in a 2 versus 2, losing out quite heavily to both Yuki and Hiva here, and they're now going to rotate to top lane, try and push down the turret with the freedom that provides them without having to go into that 2 versus 2. Means only Angel may start to get slightly gimped here versus Hiva and Yuki, and he's actually have to back off already since he sees that vision come down, may just go and take the Krugs.
Yeah. So one thing I really want to point out here is FM have been doing fantastic on the map. They are up in kills, but while it's 3-1, the gold is still in favor of the Renegades. Now, we've seen time and time again, they just do so well during the lane phase. Look at the CS numbers. There isn't a lane where they're losing. Alphari does get caught up by a hook there. Not going to see any commitment, though, from FM on that one. They're just going to try and land that harass. But it looks like we might just see a trade of towers fairly shortly here. Down in the bottom lane, there's no contestation here as the Banditos push down this tier 1.
Yeah, again, this is what RNG are really good at. They generally tend to have more lane pressure. As Kadril.
Oh, Kadril has been found out by Sean, sorry. Oh, they're going to be able to finish this one, though. Actually, Kadril losing out the trade all in all. Only just, though, as we see a bit of a fight going on in the top lane. Kino is incredibly low. In fact, all of the health bars are. If Impaler can land a spear, he will pick up one of the kills, but he's not finished just yet. He's looking for some revenge onto Sir Scott, and he might just be able to find it. The death sentence lands, though, and with the box, Sailhunden manages to find himself one. That is a bloodthirsty support, and that is a kill in his hands. But now we see only Angel heading up into this lane. Alphari, I think he's well aware of this one. He's going to try and get away. Doesn't have his ultimate available, but only Angel decides that's far too much. In the meantime, though, look at the bot lane.
I mean, you can say all you want about these small engages and the play of Sailhunden, but all it did was buy time for both Yuki and Hiva to push down 2 turrets in that bot lane and propel the gold lead to roughly 3,500. So it's looking, or rather, yeah, 3,500. So it's looking like it's doing well in terms of these small skirmishes, like you would expect given the composition from... Oh, wow. Hiva. Given the composition from FM, you would expect them to do well in the smaller skirmishes, especially around this mid-game center. And look at the deep vision as well coming out. After that bot lane push, you got some nice deep wards in the red side jungle. But it doesn't matter because these small skirmishes, all they're doing is giving time to Renegade Banditos to take turrets, which, as we all know, in general are the far more important part of winning a game of League of Legends because they just provide so much to your team's global bonuses.
Oh, Sean has been found out here. That's going to be the Glacial Path, and this might just be a dead Corki as he drops. Kadril going to pick that kill up. Explosive Cask going to be too little too late to save the mid laner right there. Sean kind of stepping out a little bit too far without any vision now that those outer towers are starting to drop.
Yeah, and he didn't have that cleanse either. You got to look.
Oh, Impaler actually has been found out. That's going to be the dredge line onto Kino. Do they want to keep chasing this one? Looks like they do as Death Charge lands. Gragas is starting to get pretty low, but he turns it back around. Finally drops Grand Challenge onto Alfari. He doesn't have flash available, in fact, and he will go down. The heal onto 3 members as Yuki pulls out his support, gets a double knockup, and only Angel will go down. Can Sir Scott do the damage in this 2v3? Doesn't look like it, as Yuki flashes forward, gets caught by a death sentence, but Sail Hunden might just have sealed his own fate right here. That's going to be their end. The slow is there, and Yuki gets one last auto to finish off the combo.
You may have seen the solo lanes, I guess, in part struggling, especially Impaler having a pretty off-color game on this Diddley at 1-4-2, but all it's allowed is for Yuki to come into these team fights and do what Yuki has been doing across all of our qualification weekends. In fact, I'd say Yuki has been one of the standout players for Renegade Banditos as this has gone on. The bot lane has been so oppressive to anyone that they've faced up against, and especially this Kalista, who right there turned a fight well in favor of the Banditos. Impaler now aggressive onto Sean.
Sean just gets obliterated. The true damage on Orb of Deception, finishing him off there on the rerun. Sean really not having a fun time of it anymore now that they're starting to lose these towers, now that they've lost control of the vision. It's so much easier for RNB to get these picks.
And that's what's so useful about having a pick composition that you get these early towers from. And actually, I'm kind of unimpressed with the way FM have responded, especially since that top lane turret's gone down. There's been almost zero vision in this blue side jungle. That's kind of what allowed Sean 17 to get picked off time and time again. In fact, there's zero vision around any of the blue side map. That top side of the map is completely unlit for FM, and having lost that top lane tower, it's allowed Sean 17 to go down several times here. They need to step up their vision control around here because Renegades, this is where they're winning the game right now.
Yeah, and speaking of winning the game, they've managed to somehow, out of nowhere pretty much, grab themselves a 6,000 gold lead here at 16 minutes. Kind of 0 to 100 right there from the Banditos. It was a very, very even game. FM were looking in part to starting to look like they were getting control of the map. But again, as you say, just losing control of this vision, and we were complimenting Kino on how he was controlling Impaler and making sure that nothing could really go Impaler's way, but that's started to really fall to pieces.
Yeah, and again, it's been a lot of this red side-centered fight for vision control, but people are kind of neglecting the fact that that top lane turret went down as well. And this pick composition working, look at this, this is exactly right. There's no one knows that they're there. The Wolf Spirit's in their favor, and there you go.
Well, they know they're there now. Sail Hunden is going to flash away, actually, but Kadril is not looking to let him escape this one for free. He did indeed, and that is going to be Hiva caught up. Oh, nice ultimate, though, coming out from Yuki will pull the support to safety. Really nice riposte. As you say, blocked the Frozen 2.
Well, that's exactly how you would play as Fiora, because as soon as you see the Glacial Path come through and you're the closest to it, you fully expect to be locked up right there. So Glacial Tomb is the natural course of action after you get a Glacial Path. But Fiora can riposte instantly and then just obviously block that when it comes through. So again, it's more knowing your opponent as opposed to being able to reactively block anything, because the only thing you can hear is a slight vocal cue, which is that freeze. And again, that's far too quick for some players to do it from reactions alone. So really great play by Only Angel. In fact, from anyone from FM, I have been super impressed with Only Angel.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I do want to mention is kind of, we talked a lot at the start of this about the fact that Only Angel is on this Fiora, and that's something Alfari usually plays, and we've kind of seen this targeted drafting at Alfari. And you said earlier as well, Yuki is definitely a standout player in the hands of RNB. However, it doesn't feel like there isn't a player. It doesn't feel like there is a player on RNB that isn't a standout player. You know, like, do you deny this Kalista from Yuki because he will just run away with the game? Do you deny the Ahri from Kadril? Speak of the devil, Sir Scott has been caught out, but Kadril run out of He still had Spirit Rush charges, but decided not to go too deep. Didn't have any vision, so doesn't want to commit. But, I mean, again, you just, like, what do you focus on in the draft phase? Because there's so many champions that these guys are so powerful on, and we see this very similar composition time and time again, but it's just so, they're so confident with it, like, it's so difficult to play against.
Again, their tactics have always been the same. FM were doing really well in the scraps and the brawls, but they were just forgetting the fact that they were losing objectives in every single lane, and it's just the way that Renegade Banditos have been playing the map. They are so clever at making sure that they're applying pressure in some lanes as Sean17 gets locked up.
He does indeed. Valkyrie's away, though, and Hiva is going to be the focus target immediately. We see Fate's Call pulling Hiva to safety.
That's the benefit of a Callista.
It certainly is, and that is going to mean that they can afford to make these very aggressive plays with Hiva. They can afford to throw him on in underneath those towers, and then if it goes right, fantastic, we'll get a couple of kills. If not, we just pull him out.
Exactly.
No big deal.
That's the benefit of having a support Nautilus with the Callista, is that he can go ballsy and make those engages happen. But if it goes wrong, like you say, you can't follow up on him. There's always that get-out clause of the Callista ultimate, and it's working quite well for Renegades right now. You know, they attempted to get the dive, and it wasn't even about the dive, really. It wasn't even about getting the kills. All they wanted was the
sending
turret.
a message.
Well, all they wanted from that was the turret. So their mission was accomplished. They picked up the turret. Doesn't matter if they got kills or not. They knew that if they sent Hiva in, it would force FM away from the turret, and then they could just bail him out with the Callista ultimate.
Yeah, and that as well is going to enforce their Vice-like grip on the lower half of FM's jungle here. They can kind of go wherever they like in cage roll. Very much abusing that fact right now as Sailhunden is moving on in here.
And you can see how much they value clearing vision compared to most teams, because you very rarely see the mid laner pick up a sweeping trinket as well. 3 sweeping trinkets is quite an unusual number for most teams, who will generally tend to see with the composition of trinkets you'll see from FM, which is the 3 blues and the 2 sweepers. But because the composition from Renegades values having lack of vision rather than having vision, it's nice to have the vision, but they really prey upon the enemy having lack of vision.
I think the major thing here is kind of, why do you need to... What do you need vision of if you know that they're underneath their towers trying to defend against the waves that you're constantly pushing in on them?
Exactly, and you know that you can force them to make mistakes in the jungle just by clearing that vision. You can see that's how these very centrally placed pinks, the ability for Cadril to walk into the red side jungle and clear vision, allow them to facilitate their picks. And it's been working quite well for Renegades. And you know, they're not necessarily having made many picks, but it means that they force a certain type of behavior pattern from FM, that they won't come into their jungle because they're afraid of those picks.
Yeah.
And that just allows free rotation of the Renegade Banditos lineup between these towers, allowing them to apply pressure across multiple lanes very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. We do see Alfari heading back to base to pick himself up a couple of items here. Does already have that Rod of... In fact, 2 Rod of Ages on the side of the Banditos. In fact, let's take a look at the items. Let's take a look at where we are in the game, because we've not really touched on that at all this game. And I feel like this kind of 4-1 split push setup, or maybe 1-3-1, is going to kind of go on for an extended period of time here.
So you can see... looks like Hex Drinker is about to be completed by Corki. He forewent it early on for the finish of the Triforce, but you see he's about 7 minutes late from where most Triforces are picked up by a Corki. So he's kind of delayed that mid-game power spike, which has definitely impacted his impact on the game. Fiora gone for the Ravenous Hydra as opposed to the Titanic Hydra, just looking to push waves extremely quickly, thinking that she's going to need the lifesteal, especially in a 1 versus 1 matchup against anyone that may be coming up against her. 2 items completed for Lucian, very standard. You know, 2-0-1, it's 2-item power spike, that's time in game. You see a similar item power spike from Yuki, and I've got to say, Sir Scott has done a good job in keeping up in both CS and gold, I think. Compared, you know, take away the global gold and Sir Scott. Oh, Impaler.
Here we go. Impaler does have to flash away, but that's going to be the explosive cask on cooldown. And look at Sir Scott's health bar already. Face Call going to be used. Do they use it to re-engage? So the knockup goes on to Kino Combo as the grand challenge goes out. Sir Scott was taken out, but Yuki might be doing doing the same. Only Angel can't quite finish it off, though, and Cadril grabs a double. He's looking for more, though, as Kino tries desperately to escape. Sean17 is desperately trying to finish him. The Nidalee heal is going to save Yuki's life. That's another kill over to Cadril. And what team play coming out from the Banditos.
And we talked about this time and time again, Munch. Sir Scott walked straight into Heaver. Do you know why he walked straight into Heaver?
No, please tell me, X-Control.
Well, you know, lack of vision. They've got no vision. In the, you know, they've got it on the side parts, but there's no central vision. They've got no, you know, I guess your classic brush catch vision is around that blue area. And Sir Scott, thinking they'd made a pick, had absolutely no idea where the rest of Renegades were, and walked headfirst into Heaver, who just locked him up and forced him to play him defensive from the get-go. That just allowed both Alphari and Cadril to run riot in the back lane. And again, you're relying on only Angel to do the majority of your footwork when it comes to these team fights. Well, that's just not how a Fiora operates at her best. She's better in that split push. She's better at a 1v1 because she is, you know, susceptible to a lot of CC as Sale Hunden.
Yeah, he may have a lot of CC on his side as well. And Palo actually does get locked up here, trying to jump away. Heaver trying to protect him, but the explosive cask will secure that kill for them. And now Heaver is going to be the next target. Culling slowly but surely chunking out his health bar, but they can't quite finish him. Cadril trying to go for the flank, but he gets caught and he gets shut down. And this might just be a Baron for FM.
I think it would be silly if they'd go for the Baron because you still have Captain Alphari, Yuki, and Heaver to deal with. But that is what they're doing right now, Munchables.
If that's silly, then they are being silly because it's already started off. Just getting down close to half HP right now. It's 3 versus 5 if they do choose to go for this one. Kino trying to force the fight, but he takes so much damage. Heaver will be traded, but no, face call is going to save his life. So Scott knocked up, and Alphari might just be looking for cleanup duty right now. Sean17 has arrived on the scene, does find one onto Heaver, and he's looking for Alphari as well. Cleanses away the frozen tomb, but I don't think you're going to win this one, mate. You've been kind of stood in no man's land for too long, and he will slowly but surely go down. It's a 2 for 3 all in all, but the Baron is stopped by the Renegades.
Yeah, again, Sean split from his team there, wasn't able to help push down the Baron's health percentage, and you're still going up against Alphari and Yuki, who are super strong at this point in time, and the CC that Heaver can provide to these smaller skirmish team fights as well. And the fact they were taking damage from the Baron, it just wasn't a sensible Baron in my opinion. Clear vision, try and make a pick, and then just back off. You're not far ahead. You're not close enough in gold to make a play like that. Maybe it's a desperation play, but you know, like you said, it was a play that, you know, RNG were happy they made because they effectively gained nothing from it.
Yeah, I think it was kind of the fact that Explosive Cask was on cooldown was a huge deal right there for FM, because Kino, you saw him try and force the engage off the back of the Baron. Actually, Sir Scott has been caught out. Cadril just going to have to Spirit Rush to safety there. You saw the attempted force engage coming out from Kino, but he wasn't able to find his targets. Didn't have flash to get the flash body slam. They weren't going to go in range of that body slam. And he didn't have the explosive cast. So it was kind of like, just went forward, just got frozen by Alphari, and then immediately blown up.
And Cadril just backing. He's picked up a fairly hefty set of items here. Abyssal, Morellonomicon, and Rabadon. So he'll be a super hard force to contest, as well as Yuki picking up that Quicksilver Sash, so he's going to be more and more safe against the Thresh Hook and a variety of other debuffs that he'll want to cleanse, as Cadril almost locks up Sir Scott in a charm there. Sir Scott 4-1-3. He's had a pretty decent game despite his team being out-pressured, and the kill score's pretty close here. It's just the pure map play by RNG is just far superior to FM right now.
Yeah, and I feel like this is kind of telling a tale of how long the Banditos have been a team comparatively to FM, because it's that kind of macro play that really comes with time and with practice and with kind of looking at VODs and working on what isn't quite there for you. Here we go though, because Baron has been started by the Banditos, and look at this very slow reaction by FM. They've got Rend as well as Smite on their side. It's got to 2k. They should be able to finish this one off, and they do. Kino gets onto Yuki, does lock him up, but he's going to just be melted. Heaver will be traded straight across from him, though. Sean incredibly low already as Impaler trying to get on the back line. Cadril as well, just having to kite away in his 4 versus 4. Alphari gets locked up, and Sir Scott jumps forward, but Zhonya's is available. That's going to be an Impaler going down, but only Angel survives on a sliver of HP. Yuki finally finishes him off, and it's going to end in a 3 versus 3, 2 for 2. Yuki, though, is not quite finished. He's just going to bully them away from the Razor Beak.
Teleport.
takes a consolation prize teleport, is going to come on in. Here come the home guards. Alfari is looking for the fights, but he's not going to find him. Kadril has managed to grab a couple of kills already. That's going to be the freeze out of Alfari. Says Scott, between a rock and a hard place here. Kadril flashes forward, and that is going to secure the kill. Banditos with a delayed ace after such a close fight. FM, unfortunately, losing out.
No one is able to deal with Yuki right now. 5-0-7. He is an absolute monster on this Kalista. We saw this last time he played Kalista, though. He was just unstoppable. And, you know, and I've got to say, Kadril's had a fantastic game. Captain Alfari's slightly more subdued than we'd have seen previously. But the whole of Renegades, again, just surpassing on individual skill and ability to control the map. They get that gold lead, and then the enemy team, no matter what the composition is, they just can't deal with how much gold everybody on the side of Renegade Banditos has. And that's something that we've seen time and time again for them. It doesn't matter what composition you pick into Renegade Banditos. They just get ahead regardless.
I mean, you mentioned in the promotions tournament that they play a very similar style to Immortals. Only Angels has been caught. A nice parry, but Ignite is more than enough to finish him off. Kadril as well. Spirit rushed forwards, but wasn't quite able to find the kills. You were saying that they're similar to Immortal. I ain't got time for that one, because Scott has been caught once again. He's going to be going down. Impaler finishes him off with the ferocious bite. Sean just narrowly escaping with that Valkyrie right there. I'm going to try a third time. You said they're very similar to Immortals during the promotional tournament. Yuki is playing exactly like Wild Turtles Kalista. He plays so aggressively, he plays so confidently, and it pays dividends for them.
But this is how Immortals win the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Sean 17 has been locked up. Good cleanse flash comes out from him, but that's both of his summoners.
Wow.
Kadril just one-shot Sailhunden. Easy combo, easy life. That is going to be the first Nexus Tower going down, and this is looking to be all she wrote right now for FM Esports. Renegades Banditos, after a little bit of a shaky early game, are looking to end the first game of the season with a victory. They're looking for the final fight. Kadril grabs one. That's going to be another for Alfari as well, as Sean gets onto Fountain. But Sir Scott, the split second he spawns, just gets deleted off the map, kicked off the server. Sean 17 can't do anything about this one. And it is going to be the Renegades Banditos taking their first victory of the season.
And it was a very dominant display. And you know, you made that point at the end. Renegade Banditos, they pick lanes that win. They take early towers. They're just so good at, despite trying to apply pressure to your individual